Hi, Acadiana. I'm meteorologist Dave Baker. Happy Tuesday to you. Back at the house and getting ready here for Let's Talk Tropics. Had a little bit of a road trip overnight last night. That's why you saw Acadiana weather today from a different location this time around. But all is back to normal. And it looks like our weather is going to be back to normal as well here over the next several days. So some good news there. And it looks like Beryl is finally making its way farther away from the region, and we won't have to worry about Beryl anymore, except with some passing showers and a few thunderstorms. As far as the traffic cams, everything is looking great. We've got partly cloudy skies across Acadiana today, and our temperatures for the most part have been holding in the upper 80s and lower 90s. Last check of the temperature here in Lafayette, we were at 88 degrees with a heat index now of 97. So it is quite warm out there, and we'll probably see some more scattered showers and thunderstorms. I saw some rain coming back on my trip during the morning hours, especially down there on Highway 90 across parts of St. Mary and Iberia parishes. You get rain, you get sunshine, and then sometimes you get rain and sunshine mixed together. So that's how it goes here in South Louisiana. So let's start with the radar. And some of these showers that we're seeing out here in the offshore waters are actually still some moisture that's being pulled in by what's left of Beryl. Most of Acadiana not seeing the rains, but you got some rains that are over toward the Crescent City this time around. And then the bulk of the rains, I'll go ahead and we'll just for fun just look at up here farther to the north where Beryl is now moving away. You can see the center of circulation now over, looks like over southeastern Missouri now, with the heavier rains kind of moving into the middle part of the country. So Beryl is finally making its way out of the way, and there is a look at it on the satellite picture. That was a very significant system. In fact, we pretty much recognized it as a tropical wave 2 weeks ago today. So it's been around for a long time. And the spin is going to continue to move into the Tennessee Valley and bring some heavier rains to the upper parts of the Midwest. So as far as its history, it did bring some significant power outages. You still have some issues up over northern parts of Louisiana, but look at southeast Texas, in and around the Houston area, and then lifting up to around Toledo Bend, where the bulk of the gusty winds were. They've still got a lot of power outages there over the eastern portion of Texas and the western portion of Louisiana. Hopefully they will get back energized sometime today, as the temperatures are going to be fairly extreme out there with highs in the 90s and heat index values well over 100 degrees. Well, let's go ahead and take a look and see if there's anything else really to worry about. You can see the rains that are down here along the coast, and that stretches over to the coastline and over toward New Orleans. You still have got some moisture trying to fill in and move off toward the north. So some of that might get drawn in, and a lot of that is still due to what's left of Beryl. Now on the Central American satellite, got a tropical wave that is making its way onshore. It's going to go ahead and continue its way off toward the west in the Pacific Ocean, but it is going to bring somewhat of a flood threat there for portions of Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, and possibly the northern part of Costa Rica as well. But after that, there really isn't a whole lot to talk about here. In the Caribbean Sea, we're really void of any activity. A bit of a wave kind of moving here over northern parts of Venezuela, but nothing over water right now. You may notice kind of this darker brownish color right about in this area here. This is all Saharan dust and dry air. So right now, the Leeward and Windward Islands okay. Puerto Rico looking good. The Dominican Republic and Haiti and Jamaica's got some scattered showers and thunderstorms out there, but for the most part, things are pretty quiet. The rest of the Atlantic this time around is showing a pretty significant tropical wave out here in the middle part of the Atlantic Ocean. We'll watch that, but again, you've got all the Saharan dust that's out here, and you've also got quite a bit of Saharan dust that's kind of rotating up and around that tropical wave out toward the east. So with all of that dry air and also the Saharan dust, I don't think we're going to have a whole lot of issues. Tropical wave there, tropical wave there. We got another complex of thunderstorms coming off the Western African continent continent, and that will eventually slide out. And that parade of tropical waves is just going to start to get a little bit busier over the next several weeks as we start to go into August and especially into September. But Saharan dust and dry air for right now is really helping us out. There's tropical wave, there's a tropical wave there. You can see all the Saharan dust that's out here right now, and that even extends out here into portions of the Caribbean too, and even the Gulf of Mexico have some Saharan dust out there as well. So you're not going to get any tropical development with conditions like this when it comes to the dry air and the Saharan dust. But one thing that has changed, and again, we've been hyper-focusing so much on Beryl over the last several days and where the shear was and how it was affecting Beryl, that I haven't really taken a good look out in the Atlantic Ocean. And when Beryl was developing and making its way toward the Leeward and Windward Islands, it was squeezing through a lot of wind shear. Notice the Atlantic Ocean right now is almost void of any wind shear. Things have really calmed down. You got some elevated shear in the central part of the Caribbean and the eastern part of the Gulf of Mexico as well. And then this trough up here is going to keep the shear going over the western part of the Gulf of Mexico too. But it is starting to, especially out here in the middle part of the Atlantic, it is starting to show those signs that we might be seeing the shear starting to relax. Hello, circle. That's not going to work, is it? Just wants to keep drawing a line to this corner up here in the top, and I really don't understand why it wants to do that. But we are looking at the shear that's finally relaxing, and hopefully, if it does, hopefully the Saharan dust sticks around, and then that way we can still see little, if any, development. But things that would go in favor of anything trying to develop, if it can get into a decent area with less wind shear and less dry air, the water temperatures would easily be able to support anything developing over the Atlantic Basin. Even way out here, you still got water temperatures that are at 26 and 27 degrees. So that's at 80 on the Fahrenheit scale. Everything across the Caribbean, Western Caribbean, and the Gulf of Mexico, and even here from the Bahamas and then going up through the Gulf Stream also has those very warm waters too. So we could get something to try to develop maybe off of a front that would push off the East Coast, and that would be more of an East Coast thing, but I think that would really be the only game in town over the next couple of days. But as far as the tropical cyclone heat potential, even with Beryl making its way across the Caribbean over the last several days, we're still seeing that high heat potential. In fact, it's pretty much extreme over the entire part of the Caribbean Sea. There are the Windward Islands right there. And look out here in the Atlantic, we still have got some very high heat content out there as well. So if something wanted to try to develop in any of these areas here, you could get that rapid intensification if you've got the right conditions, especially when it comes to shear. Now, looking at the frequency of tropical systems, June you usually have one or two. We ended up with actually, excuse me, 3 named storms developing during the month of June. You had Alberto, Beryl, and Chris. You can see those right there. We've used those 3 names. So the next name on the list is going to be Debbie, and then Ernesto and Francine. We're basically right about in here at some of the lower parts of what we would consider tropical activity during the month of July. But you can see that things really start to ramp up, and then the peak of the season is September the 10th. I know it seems like September the 10th is a long ways away, but that's only about 8 weeks away or so. And things really start to get going here at the beginning of August. So as far as preparations, with Hurricane Beryl coming close to us, and even with Alberto and Chris in the neighborhood of the southern part of the Bay of Campeche, those of you who haven't started trying to prepare to get some of the things that you need, you really need to start thinking about getting some of those things so that you're ready when the next tropical system starts out. So let's go look way out in La La Land. This is the latest GFS model, and the reason I like to look at the GFS model extended is because it goes out 16 days, and we're really not seeing a whole lot out there. Maybe a couple of ripples of energy over the very extreme southwestern part of the Caribbean, but those are tending to cross over into the Pacific, and they become tropical systems on the Pacific side, which wouldn't be of any concern to us. And even some of those tropical waves that are rolling off the African coast really don't look very interesting there, and nothing seems to want to develop, at least on the GFS model. Now, the Euro model only goes out 10 days every other run. So this actually ran very, very, very early this morning. There will be another update on this model coming up within the next couple of hours, but even going out 10 days on the Euro model, I'm really not seeing anything. You just got that big, huge ridge of high pressure that's basically going to stay here over the middle part of the Atlantic Ocean. So everything's going to take that westerly move. If something were to develop out here, it might start to head over toward the northeast or the east coast, but anything that's going to develop down here is pretty much going to work its way off toward the west, toward the western Caribbean Sea or the western part of the Gulf of Mexico. So the tropical weather outlook is looking pretty good here. We haven't seen this in quite some time. We still have the remnants of Beryl that's on the map, but as far as any tropical cyclone development over the next 7 days, it does appear that the National Hurricane Center doesn't think there's going to be anything. So maybe we can all take a breath here for the next week or so. And this is also the best time to try to put your hurricane plan together. And I have put this list up many, many times since before the hurricane season started. But these are all things that you can gather right now when there is no emergency, when there is nothing threatening, when all of these items are in the stores and you don't have to fight a lot of folks to get it. Of course, the batteries, flashlight, water, non-perishable foods. Make sure you got a first aid kit. Most of us do. You might need to do some restocking of it. Take a little inventory on your prescription medicine and also know where you would get prescription medicine if you had to evacuate. Personal hygiene and also house cleaners. Got to have a lot of that stuff, especially if you are post-hurricane. You want that personal hygiene because you know how hot and sticky it can get. Take all your important papers, IDs, insurance. Take pictures of them. Save them as digital. Then go ahead and put them in a watertight container if you have to leave and take those papers with you. And if you're planning on staying home or going on the road, if you're staying home, you do need to have a basic tool set. But if you're going on the road or staying at home, make sure you got plenty of pet supplies and plenty of entertainment for the kids. It doesn't need to be plugged in, nor would it need any batteries. And for your pet supplies, make sure you got the pet's medicine as well as their identification too, especially if you have to evacuate. So these are a lot of things that you can do right now when there are no named storms out there. So I encourage you to, at least this week, try to grab 5 of these before the week is over and just get yourself a good start. I have 2 other lists. One is for a week out and one is for 3 days out, and we'll get to those more when we are more under any kind of threat. So not a whole lot going on, which is great news. I know a lot of you are probably tired of listening to Beryl and getting the constant barrage of social media updates on Beryl, so hopefully we can get a little bit of a rest, but we will continue to do Let's Talk Tropics each and every weekday at noon. And this is a really cool way to find out exactly when things start to develop and how they evolve, and you can watch the entire forecast evolve just like we've done with Hurricane Beryl. Again, it was a tropical wave recognized right here on this show 2 weeks ago today, and all of the Let's Talk Tropics episodes are saved on my YouTube channel. So if you want to go back and just kind of look at how we did, how the forecast panned out, did this thing really go in or out of the cone at any time? So if you want to go back and review some of the forecasts, you can do that there. If you enjoy Let's Talk Tropics, please like this video and also subscribe to my channel. And thank you to the over 2,600 folks that have subscribed to the channel. Please tell a friend and have them subscribe as well. That way you get an alert when Let's Talk Tropics goes live or when I drop Acadiana Weather Today, which is just a local forecast made in Acadiana for Acadiana, and that drops every weekday morning sometime between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. I'm Meteorologist Dave Baker. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and I will see you early tomorrow morning on Acadiana Weather Today on a Wednesday.